You are now listening to Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell, the voice for the people. Join Richie alongside co-host property damage attorney Hans Kennon as they bring light to the taboo world of big insurance companies, exposing their tactics and fighting for justice. Hear stories from contractors across the state. Contractor Talk, here to protect homeowners and uncover the truth.
Welcome to the show, Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell, live every Monday night on 94.9 FM, 950 on the AM dial. The Answer. You have a second shot at it on Spotify, iTunes, and on our YouTube page. Like us, subscribe us there. Contractor Talk Podcast, where you'll find us. ContractorTalkPodcast.com will kind of be your in-between of all of our social, everywhere that we post. And anytime we do a show, you have an opportunity to listen to it again. So I would say in a few days, by Wednesday of this week, this show, Monday night, will be aired on the Spotify, all the different streaming, and as well as put on our YouTube after we post-produce our show here along with our guest. And so every Monday, different guests for you, some more information of what's going on in our world, our wonderful world of insurance and property insurance claim resolutions with different service providers. So we bring you stories from whether it be air conditioning folks, whether it be roofing folks. We've got the restoration guys. We've got the inspection companies. We've got
drywall, plumbing.
Yeah.
Everybody.
There we go. Even an in-house attorney here. That brings me up. Hans Kennon with Kennon Law. What's going on, brother?
Oh, no, good to be back again. Every week, I think I've been doing this like 5 years now in all different formats, all different places, live radio, podcast, now here. We can keep it on going, and people, it's funny, we had a discussion the other week of the lady who listens to our show every week.
Right.
And had some questions. She actually called the guest and actually had some questions for him about that. So it's nice to know that people are listening, and we can help some folks along the way.
Right, and bring them some fresh information as well. I mean, we get fired up during the legislative session, and so we talk a lot of trash, or at least I can say I do, about what's going on and who's behind it and what's really between us and having equal laws right now, or at least I think since or let's take a step back, since before 2022, I thought at least the consumer had even footing. We saw a major law change in 2022, 2023 via a couple special sessions and your regular session in the beginning of 2023, just to see that all lines of insurance were just cut off at the head of having prevailing party attorney's fees, which you think about it, and at first you're like, oh, okay, it's just, I've attorney's fee, I can still sue you, but man, the cost that you now have to cover of the experts, the attorney's fees. So let me give you an example. You're fighting your insurance company for a $10,000 roof. I'm not saving for that one-time event. I'm definitely not saving to the tune of $10,000 to have to put money into my own roof before storm season's coming. And then to find out that you're one of the 15 insurance companies who were listed in the paper as saying that they denied more than 50% of all the claims from the past two storms. So they either paid under deductible, which is one of their new things, or they just denied it altogether. And a hurricane went over your home, and this is what you pay insurance for, but yet they scratch their head and they're like, well, nope, not enough damage, sorry. Under deductible payment, boom, or denied all the way. And then they have to now swallow that pill and then do what they usually don't want to do, which is call an attorney. But then to add insult to injury, now they have to pay out of their own pocket. Even when the insurance company was found to be wrong, you still have to tell them, well, sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. The good news is you got the full award of $10,000. Bad news is you're not getting all of that.
Right. And like I said, I've been a lawyer for 30 years now. For 30 years, I've told my clients, look, don't worry, you get all your money, they pay me separately. And that was very comfortable to do because it made you feel like you're doing well and doing good. You're doing well by the client, and you're doing good for yourself, and the insurer's picking up the amount that they should have paid plus, because that's the leverage. That was the purpose of the statute, is to make it where the client or the consumer had some leverage against the insurance company. But now the worst day for the insurance company is all they're going to have to pay is what they owe.
Right.
So if that's all for them, they're like, so if I don't pay for a couple of years, what happens? Worst day, I got to write a check, maybe some interest. And that's it. So they can sit on their money longer and longer. And we see that all the time, especially I have clients who've been only insured for a short period of time with some insurance carrier. And they'll say, well, they insured my house. And I always tell people, underwriting is much more willing to take your money and insure your home And claims is to give it back to you if you have a claim. Even if you haven't been insured for 6 months, 9 months, a year, short periods of time, underwriting said the roof was fine. They got an inspection by someone perhaps like our guest for today who said it was all good. And then all of a sudden, claims comes out and goes, this is terrible. This roof's a mess. It's wear and tear, deterioration. I can't believe they insured you at all. And you're like, but they did.
But they did.
But
right?
they did. And that doesn't always carry the day. I had some issues with that today. Right. I had an adjuster blame a prior loss where the insurer said they were prejudiced by a 60-day delay in reporting. 60 days. And they denied the entire claim for late reporting. Then they sent an engineer for the Milton claim. The engineer for the insurer says, I think some of this is from the prior claim. So I said to the guy, do you want to pay me on a prior claim date? He goes, can't do that today. I only have money for Milton. But if you said another mediation, maybe. And I said, you realize your engineer is basically saying the damages from the prior loss that you said you couldn't. Here's the beauty of it. The engineer goes out 15 months after my guy's first loss. After 60 days after reporting, the insurer says, late reporting, we're prejudiced. However, the engineer goes out 15 months later and is able to completely figure it out for the insurance company which loss it is.
Wow, because you have 1 year to make first notice of claim and 18 months of something.
They were 60 days. 60 days.
Wow.
And the insurer said, we're prejudiced by the late reporting. But then again, their engineer goes out 15 months later and says, no, this is from Milton and this is from the storm before. And I'm like, you guys couldn't figure that out? You had to hire an engineer to tell you that the prior loss was a problem?
Well, that's the game, right? I mean, they want to deflect and say and only use an excerpt from an expert company that they hired. And as you know, from many of the depots you deal with these engineering firms, like, how many of these jobs do you get from this insurance company? They're like, well, I don't know, not that many. I don't know, maybe 75 this last year. It's like, okay. How many assignments did your company get last year? I don't know, maybe around 75. So it's like, and I stole that page out of your book and of this guy. I think it was from Omega. I can talk trash. I'm an opposing engineering firm, and so they were, come out and it's like, okay, so it's they basically make up 100% of your workflow. So
and we say, and now the 100% of your jobs. Would you like to get more? Right. When you go out and write this report, in your mind, are you thinking, I'd like to get more of this work?
Right.
Because they can't say no. What are you going to say? No, I don't want any more work. No. Well, I'm independent. Okay, you're independent to the extent that 100% of your income comes from a single payer.
Right.
But again, I'll ask you, sir.
Doesn't seem independent.
Would you like to get more of the work from that insurance carrier?
And of course, they'd love to say, yes, of course. Yeah. I'd love more work from this company. Right. And they pay good, they pay fast, and they also help deny very valid claims, and that's unfortunate because that's what they use. They'll send an expert company out there that they own, as we've stated. They give them a good amount of business, and they use the little excerpts from their from that report, and they'll put it in their response letter. Well, we sent an engineer out, and usually the homeowner's like, yeah, the engineer was great. He was pointing these things out, and, was a really good guy and everything. And next thing you know, you get this letter. It's full denial. And as we saw in 2022, where the independent adjusters were coming to the Florida legislature with proof that their estimates were being changed by the desk adjusters. So you got the independent adjuster went out for the insurance company who aren't so independent, right, as we know, and they would they would inspect the claim, turn in a full replacement for the roof and all the interior damages, to find out later on that the homeowner only gets paid for a roof repair and minor damages on the inside. The outside adjuster was getting all these phone calls, pissed off clients saying, what are you doing? You said you were going to pay all this. Find out that the desk adjuster even left their name on it of the outside adjuster, the IA, and turned that over for payment. It was fraudulent, and we saw this rampant after the storms from both Milton and from Helene.
Look, I have a letter in my file that says, Dear Mr. Homeowner, our field adjuster has found that there's no storm-related damage to your roof. I deposed the field adjuster. He says, no, there was damage to the roof. And I go to the corporate representative. I said, sir, correct me if I'm wrong, but that letter says the field adjuster found that there was damage to the roof. And he goes, oh, that's a mistake. It should really say, no, it's a mistake. It should really say the insurance company found there's no damage to your roof. I said, so the guy who went out who looked at it
on behalf of
the insurance company, you don't agree with him. But you looked at the pre-purchase inspection report at both of the photos of the roof in the pre-purchase inspection report, and determined that no roof was damaged. And I said to the field adjuster, I said, now, do you have a chance to look at the report, the pre-purchase inspection report, prior to doing the inspection? He said, yes, I did. Did you see damage that was not on a pre-purchase inspection report? Yes, I did. And I'm just like, how are you not paying on this file? How are you not paying the claim on this file? And it's up for trial, June 30th. We're going to trial June 30th, time certain in Seminole County.
Let me guess, it's Citizens?
No, actually it's not. It's not.
No.
But, it's probably,
one of the other.
One of the usual suspects.
Right. Gotcha. I'm sure you're not in good hands and they're a horrible neighbor. But that's crazy. And somebody that's not new at all to these types of nightmares of insurance wars, so to speak, of whether the roof should be repaired or replaced or even covered at all, is my man Brett with Roof Scene Services. What's going on, Brett? How are you today?
Doing well, Richie. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Yeah, there you go. You got to pull that mic up a little bit closer there. There you go. You sound awesome now. There you go. But yeah, over the years, I know you've seen and have many stories on your side as a roofer, just trying to do the right thing, and somebody that has a lot of integrity in this industry and has been around for a long time. And I know you from your previous life here in the same industry. And so somebody that just has really good integrity and that will ensure that and stand behind you if you know that these damages absolutely were from this storm, and be able to look a homeowner in the eye too and just, hey, listen, I'll take your money, just pay me cash because this is not covered. You just have a maintenance issue going on. But somebody's been in this industry a long time, man. I'm happy to have you on the show. I'd love to hear some stuff about what you're doing now today, and tell us a little bit about your company.
So I started Roof Scene Services a little while back, and what I saw between working as a sales manager of a roofing company, I saw a missing part. I saw that, a public adjuster wasn't necessary on all the jobs. Yes, they have some good influence, just as attorneys do. But there's times when let's just be the nice face and, make some changes there. Also getting a lot of referrals from realtors. The realtors are like, hey, I'm questioning this home inspection. Can you go check it out for me? And it's like, well, a public adjuster is going to charge $1,000 for it, or say, that's not worth my time, So I found that void, and I was like, okay, let me pick up on this. And so that's what I've been doing. And
are you focusing mostly on the roof, or are you looking at the full exterior? What are you looking at when a realtor hires you for that?
I start with the roof, and I have a few of the realtors are like, hey, while you're there, can you go inside for me? And can you tell me if this is a leak, or if it's an AC issue, or if it's a plumbing issue? And so, because they know I get in the attics. And so I'll get up in the attic and I'll find the plumbing up there or whatever it is, and so I can, take pictures and send it to them, and, appease what they're looking for. Sometimes it's what they want to see. Sometimes it's not. And, it's my name, it's my integrity. And so I show them the facts, I show them all the photos, and then they can make an informed decision if they want a new roof, if they don't, if they want to repair, or if it's not necessary.
That's nice. That's nice. We were talking a little bit about some of the legislative changes, and one thing that happened the last couple of years, though, they did put some protection in for the homeowner for where the cases where insurance companies were not renewing folks because they felt their roofs were too old. And so they made a law change that says, well, if somebody, one of these fashions, a roofer, engineer, I don't know if a home inspector or some licensed roofing inspector, whichever, does a full inspection and says you have more than or 5+ years of life expectancy, then they can't deny you based off of that.
Non-renew you.
Right. They can't non-renew you based off of that. Do you get any of those types of inspections?
Yes, I have done those. I will state that I'm not a certified home inspector, but working under a roofer, a roofing contractor. So I can go out, I will look at it, and I'll charge a nominal fee. And then with that, my boss knows my integrity and will say, yes, I will sign off on this letter. And then we will charge a fee to show ownership of what we saw up on that roof. And yes, I've had some where they're like, oh yeah, Brett, send me something, that says 3 to 5 years if that's what you see up there and all. And I'll do that. And then all of a sudden I get from their boss, hey, it needs to be 5 or more years. I'm like, I know, but she said, so it becomes like, it's just a funny thing. And so, I've learned that. And so now it's like, yes, if it's more than 5 years or if it's less than 5 years.
It's hard. I always tell guys I work with, and you and I have not met before, what I always tell everybody is, don't try to help me. like I know I'll hire an expert, a guy I haven't used before, and he'll be like, well, and have all these theories and ideas, and I go, don't help me, because if you try to help me, it's going to fall apart on cross-examination.
Yeah.
Because no matter how slick you think you're going to present this, it'll be revealed in the light of day. So the guys I do use, they all know. Just tell me exactly what it is. If it's good, great.
Yep.
If it's bad, I'll tell the client, and then maybe I always tell my clients, I'd rather have you unhappy now than furious a year from now. While you're going to be happy with me by telling you that it doesn't have the damage you think, or it's not related to the event, or the roofer's chosen a date of loss for which there's barely a breeze and no hail, which comes up pretty often too. I said, I'd rather tell you now and have you be mad at me for the moment and realize I was straight up with you for guys I can rely upon, you know?
That's right. That's right. And before we started the show, I was asking you, like, what's your bread and butter, and do you perform any type of repair service and such like that? So tell us a little bit about that.
So what Roof Season Services does is we offer tarping, emergency tarping, just standard tarping. If it's, rainstorm comes in, you're like, oh my, there's water coming in or whatever. I'd say about 50% of the time I get up there and it's wind-driven rain coming through it, the gooseneck. And it's like, okay, this is a situation. It's a one-time issue. Other times, we're going to tarp your roof. We're going to sandbag it. We're going to whatever. People are like, I want it nailed down. I'm like, no, I will not nail it down. You cannot afford that. But we'll sandbag it and do whatever. We also do emergency repairs. I carry stuff myself. My super under One World Roofing, he's always available. Usually within 2 to 3 days, we can go out there and do the repair. If it's something that needs a Band-Aid over doing a full roof replacement, then that's where the tarp comes in. It's like, I'm not going to charge someone to do a repair on something that we're eventually going to have to replace, due to the age of the shingle or the damage of the shingle, or, multiple slopes and whatever, tree damage and such. So from tarping to repair work and then full roof replacements.
Awesome. That's great. And so many people do just the full roof replacement and not the repair side of it. So it's really good to know that you can come out pretty quickly, find a solution for it, maybe tarp it on a temporary basis, and sometimes it's just a repair needed in one area location. Now, is that for all roof types?
Yes, we awesome. Metal. It's pretty simple to just I shouldn't say simple, but where a metal leak is, it's something that just needs to be battened back down and, siliconed in and such. So yes, we do that. Tile roofs definitely takes the crew to come out, and we do that. We isolate, we use the FLIR, we figure out where it's coming in from, and we, remove those tiles and all. Shingle roofs, sometimes I can do them myself depending on the size of it. Otherwise, we pull in the crew and get that resolved as well.
Just out of pure curiosity, a lot of guys don't do repairs. A lot of the people I represent don't want to do a repair because, for all the reasons why, you don't want to be the second doctor operating on someone after medical malpractice. It just kind of makes you a defendant. How do you deal with the fact that you fix 4 shingles on the east slope and the next week the west slope leaks? Someone calls you up and goes, "Hey, you fixed my roof and now it leaks." How do you? I'm just curious.
That's a wonderful question. So the moment I get up there, I take a picture of where I'm putting the ladder up on the eave, and then as I'm up on the ladder, I take a picture of that first slope, and then I take pictures all the way around to do a 360. Then I go find out where the issue is. I take pictures of that issue. If there's other issues, I let them know immediately if they want to do the repair right then and there or not. If they want to, schedule it a week or two out, whatever. If they call back and in that week, 2 weeks, another storm comes through, hey, or is this and that, and like, well, yep, I identified the north slope or the right slope or whatever. Didn't see anything at that time. I'm sorry that water's coming in there for this fee. Then we will come back out and we'll visit that slope as well.
Okay, I was just curious. I always wondered how, because you can be wanting to help people and be very earnest about it. People aren't always earnest back. So I was just curious if you had any issues.
I do have one of those. We were the third company to be out there to do the repairs. He actually lied to us about it and saying, hey, the roof, it was installed like 4 years prior, and it was tile roof, and it was down with the little dabs of silicone, and all the tiles were sliding. And I mean, when you look at an 18-inch tile and you have a dollop that's a half an inch that was holding that entire tile in place, it's like,
where's the fastener?
Yeah, they weren't using them. But then on the next slope, there was fasteners on everything. And then we're doing the repairs. We go up, 6 rows. All of a sudden, there's fasteners again. It's like, okay, who was the beginner and who was?
Right. Like, I remember there was a time, years ago, where sometimes they didn't even fasten them down because of the weight. They would just slide them all onto the roof.
Yep.
And I remember I learned that. I never even conceived that as a concept, that they would literally just slide until someone said it, and I was like, no, that can't, you can't just have the weight.
I have a house in Dr. Phillips right now that they have 4-inch screw fasteners. Mm-hmm. They also have nails, and then they have the foam.
Oh, wow.
Like, it's one roof, and they use 3 different things on 3 different parts of the roof. And
I thought you meant for each style. They're different for each style. I was like, geez, that's crazy.
No, it's all mixed.
Really?
Yeah, and we're talking.
It's like whatever they had left
slopes.
over in the truck. Yeah, we got some of this left over.
Yep.
Let's use that till it runs out.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Either that or they're doing a training day or something. Like, hey, this is how you do foam. This is how you do fasteners.
Like in a movie, they made him smoke PCP, probably. In the film.
He was a fan of Cheech and Chong.
He's not here, as he would say.
Right. I've seen so many variations there on the wind side of things of the argument about did we have the fasteners correctly installed or to the tightness that it should be to hold in for this certain wind speeds and such like that. It's amazing to hear how other people do it outside of just like one uniform way of install, so it always makes it interesting.
And I guess code does not specify any method of adhering tile, I guess.
Minimum is foam. When we install tile roofs, we always use fasteners mechanically.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and then you can gauge the percentage of your tightness there for each fastener.
Yep.
And so, and so that's good stuff. And I think it's wise for you to let me ask in a question format. Going into storm season, if somebody is concerned with the roof, do you offer any type of inspection, like maybe preventative inspection? And if so, is there a charge with that, or how does that work?
Yes. So I actually have 3 clients that every 6 months that I get the text, hey, will you go check it out? And so I charge them $250 to go out to their residence. One's Winter Garden, and the others are further out, Eustis in that area. Mm-hmm. And they're like, hey, please go check it out. Take the before photos, and then take the after photos. They're all friends and family. It's a situation where a hailstorm, they had water damage, they had the wind lift on their solar panels, $100,000 of interior damage, but they denied the roof. And they were referred to me by a client who I did retail work for on a house they had just bought. And they're like, I told them, I'm like, hey, you might want to whatever. But it was all in the cost of the house, and the seller agreed to put a new roof on. So there was no questions asked. It was a cash deal.
Right.
Well, their friends were saying, hey, this is ridiculous. I can't believe they did this. And they're like, call Brett, let him go look at it. I'm telling you, 9 days to the expiration of I'm out there, and I'm like, this is hail all day long. And I didn't even know the 9 days was up. I just figured, here I am being introduced. I'm up there, and we're talking the 68 square roof. And I'm like looking around, marking it up. I come down. I'm like, you got hail damage? She's like, wait, they denied me. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? They did that. They denied this. Right. I'm like, okay. They let me get on the neighbor's roof. There's mostly tile roofs in the neighborhood. There's only 3 shingled roofs in the neighborhood. I got on the other shingled roof. Sure enough, one slope, same direction, hail all over the place. I'm like, here's the storm date. They're like, wait. I'm like, when did you file the claim? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, we got to get this going. Got it going. We had legal representation, and we got it fully approved.
Good.
That's
nice.
awesome. That's awesome. That's a good story and a good segue into asking, how do we get a hold of you? If I'm listening now, I'm in that same situation, I need help. How do we get a hold of Brett? 407-928-2525 is the best way to reach me. You can also email me at roofsceneservices@gmail.com. Awesome. And one more time. We got about 20 seconds.
407-928-2525 and roofscene, SCENE, services@gmail.com.
Boom. Love it. All right, man. We've got more of this action coming for you after this break and some storm preventing or pre-storm preventions for you when we come back after the break. All right. We're back after the break. Our 94.9 FM, 950 on the AM dial. The Answer. And I always forget, we do have a live call-in number. If you have a question live for us on air, not afterwards, only between 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. So if you're listening on Spotify, don't write this down. 407-774-8255 is how to reach us right now while we're live between 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. Monday nights. That's 407-774-8255. So you'll call the producer. He'll put you on the show. You can heckle us. You can ask questions. Anything you want, we're here for you. And so before the break, we're talking with Brett about some war stories. Really, it's what I really want to get into is the good stuff. We'll call it roof wars, and how many times we've seen it. Just even during the break, how many times we've seen or being able to help a client that clearly has roof damage. And I love your story about being able to help this homeowner out. You're inspecting it. You're on almost the last day for like their, what was it, the 10-day inspection window?
No, it was
For the 1 year?
1 year.
Oh, for the 1 year.
Well, actually, at that time it was 2 years. But
the time to supplement the claim. Yes.
Oh my goodness. And here you are, you're going, oh my God, there's hail damage over here. And the client's like, well, no, we got denied for that claim. You're like, wait, what? And it sounds like the folks that all of the two recent storms scratching their heads thinking the same thing. It's like this big storm went over here and all of my neighbors got approved for new roofs and damages, but apparently there was a force field over my house right here. Which is wild. It really is up to like whether it be the insurance company or the adjuster and or what the numbers that they have, how many times they want to deny
one of the
somebody.
biggest problems you see is the client, like now, even for your Hurricane Milton's October 9th. And so we're almost 9 months past, which seems like a blink, like Milton was yesterday. Mm-hmm. People call me, like I talked to a client today, or a potential client, and he said, well, I wasn't sure what to do. And I said, it's like 9 months, man. I mean, but people do. They say to themselves, well, I thought they were going to come help me. They said if I had more information to send it to them, wasn't sure what to do. Sometimes adjusters will tell me I got to get 3 estimates, which is a complete lie. No policy on the planet requires you to get 3 estimates. They said, well, go find somebody, and time keeps clicking on by. And the reality is, even though the statute gives you currently 1 year to make a claim, the insurer is allowed to assert prejudice in the delay in reporting, even though the statute says you can. Mm-hmm. So that's the biggest problem I have is sometimes folks will go, well, someone said I had a year to make the claim. I said, the fact you have it doesn't mean you should utilize all 12 months. Right. Make a claim right away. And people, but I have a lot of older clients too. They don't know. They got a son who lives out of state, comes by for the holiday or things like that. They don't go up on their roof and the time goes by. Right. But I can tell you now, if you think you had damage from Hurricane Milton, the window, I was really trying to close the window for that by the end of April, which would be 6 months. I made 2 million claims on behalf of clients today because they came to us and they're like, we didn't know. And like, well, we got to get going. And I'm hoping we don't get a prejudice defense by the insurer.
Well, I'm sure you will. But the truth is that most people, and I don't even get on my roof, it's like, so you're really at on the downside of this. If you don't want to get on your roof, you need to call somebody like Brett. You have to call a professional. And that's what I was going to say. I was like, maybe now is a good time to have somebody come out and inspect your home before the next storm season comes, which we are officially in hurricane season right now. Mm-hmm. June 1st started the storm season, and so we're going to start seeing more inclement weather. We saw in Lake Mary, Longwood, and that whole swath that came through like Seminole County in April.
They still got tarps. I drove by. It's on Markham Woods Road, right before you get to Aliqua on the left-hand side, and there's a bunch of houses
like
in a
row. Weird tornado just went right through.
And it's weird when you think, tornadoes are something I kind of consider are more like movie, like Hollywood.
Right.
Like I don't think about, I live like a mile from here. And I don't think, and a hurricane went over by the golf course, by Wekiva Springs, by Wekiva on the Green, I guess, went through there, then went up and ended up on Markham Woods Road. Yeah. That's like a mile from my house, from your house.
Right. Yeah. I don't need a house falling on my dog.
I mean, exactly. So tornado. I mean, don't think about that being a real thing here. But a lot of that weather, and a lot of people say the insurer will say, well, there wasn't bad weather that day. But I've had tornadoes and hailstorms pop up, which hailstorm doesn't necessarily reflect a huge wind speed necessarily. But they'll say, well, there was barely wind that day. Yeah, not a lot of wind, but it hailed for a while with an inch plus of hail.
Right.
I said, that counts, doesn't it? And like, well, you get in one of those contests with people.
Well,
But,
and I've stated this before. It's like, especially now 9 months into it, let's say you get an inspection done, finally, maybe you're getting around to it, and there is damage found on the roof in a place that maybe you wouldn't have seen from the ground yourself doing your own inspection, walking around. So then you file your claim late. Now, the important date to know is that 18-month time to supplement.
Yeah.
So like Brett mentioned, if you have a roof leak, he's going to come over and put a tarp over and basically Band-Aid that sucker for you, just so you don't have any, so your damage doesn't get worse while they're figuring out, are we going to replace this? Are we going to repair it? What are we going to do?
Because if you don't tarp it and it gets worse, the insurer is going to blame you for failing to mitigate your damage.
That's right. And so it's important to get that temporary barrier over it while we're waiting, at least several weeks for the insurance company to inspect, sign an adjuster, those types of things. So it still isn't late for right now to file it, but where that 18-month point is what I'm saying about how important that is. Let's say that Brett comes over and puts a tarp over your house, and you're saying, okay, I'm going to let the slow insurance company make their way through the claim, and during that time, a storm comes through, knocks a tarp over, more water comes in. Well, you can what they call supplement that claim, add on to it. So we went from $10,000 of damage to $15,000 worth of damage. You update your demand as an attorney. You inform the insurance company, and then until you finally get resolution. Well, as soon as you hit that 18 months, which you already said we're halfway there, we're 9 months into it, out of 12 months to file first notice of claim, but 18 months to do that. And as you know, the claims could take 1, 2, 3 years. And in that time, 18 months goes by that fast. And while we're waiting to get the funds, Brett can't do anything except for keep replacing the tarp for you. But a big storm comes over, knocks it off. You're past 18 months. You can't file a new claim. What are you going to do?
And even Hurricane Ian, which was September of 22, the statute in place at that time was 2 years. So I've gone back and helped people reopen Ian claims when they got denied. I had a lady come see me. She had some other like generic storm. And so we're talking during mediation, and I said, well, what about this prior claim you said you had? Oh, that was for Hurricane Ian. I said, what happened? Well, they paid me some money, but I didn't know what to do. And I'm like, and this current claim was denied. And I was like, you had a claim for Hurricane Ian,
and they opened coverage,
and they paid you money. And she was like, I just bought the home. It was my first thought, didn't know what to do. I said, well, we should dump this denied claim right away and supplement out the Ian claim, which is what we did, and we're working on now. But I mean, those are the things. The time goes by. I mean, what we say as we all get older, time goes by more quickly. I can tell you, if you make a hurricane claim, time runs like double speed.
Right, and something important to note is that folks are so like scared to file claims right now because already the price of insurance is so high. So God forbid that we have like a dent on your loss runs. Well, it's important to know that if you think you have a hurricane claim does not count against your loss runs. So for instance, if you're going to get new insurance and they're like, oh, how many losses have you had? And if all of you had is a hurricane claim, you say none. Right, so if you had a pipe break or your car went through your house or something dramatic like whatever, and you filed a claim, that's a claim that's going to be reported on your loss runs, but not an act of God, not a named storm hurricane event. Right, so it's important to know. So if you file the claim, your worst case scenario is they deny it or you abate the claim. Right, and so no harm, no foul, but at least you get that level of inspection and you go through the process to see if it's a valid claim.
And I a couple of things that had come up recently where I had a denied claim by an insurer, and they were denied, like they weren't moving on it. And then Hurricane Milton came through, and we ended up making a Milton claim, but the client was like, but my deductible's so high. Now that is an issue for folks. Right. I had a lady who had a $12,000 roof estimate, had a $19,000 deductible. And I'm like, ma'am, if you have a $12,000 roof, it's almost impossible to ever have a loss that's going to exceed $20,000 unless your house blows away.
Wait. Let me ask this, Brett. When's the last time you wrote a roof estimate for $12,000?
There was a mobile home that was 750 square feet. Where
did this lady live? What kind of roof did she have?
It was like a 20 square roof. It just wasn't a lot of money.
Yeah.
Just wasn't a lot of money. And but she had bought a 5% coverage A deductible. And so I said, ma'am, you have an excellent Milton claim, but I could win every nickel and you don't get $1 because your deductible's so high.
Tell me she had interior damage.
So no, it was just a roof wall. I mean, it was just, and it didn't matter if she had interior damage. We're not. I said, ma'am, I literally cannot help you. Like, there's literally no, of all the angles I have, I
Right.
cannot.
We can win. Damn it, Will. We're going to win.
If you want to
You're
win,
not going to get any money, but we are sure going to win.
As a draw.
Yes, we do see that. But so deductibles are important to everybody. Most people get a 2% of coverage A, and that's still a lot of money for a lot of folks. It's still 8, 9, 10 grand a lot of times for folks.
Right.
But yeah, if you, I was saying people are become insurance wise, and they go, oh, I'll save $50 by buying a bigger deductible, and I realize money's money. I'm not trying to spend someone else's dough, but when you think about saving $100, that increases your deductible by $10,000. The law of averages
you need
are
to think
probably
about
going to
that.
get you. Probably going to get you. So there you go.
That's right.
All right.
That's right. And so with that, I mean, knowing what shape your roof is, and Brett, you were saying that you offer these kind of like pre-storm evaluations for folks, and one of them even has you come out every 6 months, which I think is a good plan, especially before storm season. I just can't keep reiterating that. Whenever I switch insurance, they want me to get the 4-point inspection, have it inspected, so they want to know what the condition of your main parts are. So including the roof, right? Your 4-point inspection, your roof, your AC, plumbing, electric panel, make sure all that kind of basic stuff is good. It's not going to burn down and that kind of stuff. So, and I was able to get a good policy much cheaper. So, but my question is like, you run into times where folks are like, man, I mean, or you saw that one house that there was definite damage on it, but they need to replace their roof now. Are you able to replace it, maybe offer in-house financing or a financing source, and then at the same time run the insurance claim to possibly get them reimbursed? Have you done that before? Is that an option?
Yes. We do offer in-house financing. We also, depending on if it's like someone's going to be buying or selling the house, we'll do money out of escrow.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I hate to
so
say.
you kind of like offer like that deferment until they close.
Correct.
So
Yes.
you put the house up, man. That's amazing. Really.
Yeah, my boss and I were patient with our money. That's incoming because doing this for over 9 years, I know I waited 2-3 years from the insurance companies to pay out. So if I'm waiting 3 to 6 months for a house to sell, so be it. Or
we'll that's a lot shorter to get paid, especially if you've been used to that long-term payment. How do they get a hold of you if they're in this situation?
They can call me 407-928-2525. They can also email me at roofsceneservices@gmail.com.
That's pretty cool. I like that idea of like a seller's got it on the market and they're like, man, I don't have the money to do this. I need to sell the house, but nobody's going to buy it unless they change the roof. Yeah. You have an option for them to put their roof on now. Well, let's listen. We'll be right back after the break. Right, and we're back live on 94.9 FM, 950 on the AM dial. The Answer. Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell, live every Monday night, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. right here in the Central Florida area. You have another shot afterwards on Spotify, iTunes. About a few days later on Wednesday, Thursday, you'll hear that, and then you'll see our our post-produced YouTube video of this show here. So if you're just now tuning in, you want to check us out, and you want to see Hans' Dapper Suit of the Week, feel free to tune in there. There goes the zoom in shot. Boom, we'll get that in post-production. There you go. It's pointing at Angela. Anyways, but so find us there on our YouTube page, Contractor Talk Podcast there on YouTube. Like us, subscribe us, watch every show. New stuff for you as always. And I love talking with Brett here about not only doing the repairs, which I think is very important to know that there's a big difference between roofing companies that'll sell you a roof replacement versus ones that'll come in and diagnose it, give you a repair if you need it, or replace it if you need it. Maybe offer you, you mentioned in-house financing for folks, even if they're about ready to sell their home, but they can't sell it unless they fix the roof first. You're able to offer them something. Hey, give me a deposit, and I'll wait till you sell the home. That's just awesome. That's a great offering that most roofing companies don't offer for folks when they're in that time of need. It's the same thing when they're in that insurance claim. Right. They're in that time of need, and you're like, man, you're very sympathetic to them. You're able to offer hey, let me tarp it for you, and you even, I know you're even forgo that. Just like, listen, man, if you want me to replace your roof, I'll just tarp it for you. Whatever. I think that's awesome, man. It just shows a lot of integrity on your side and something that you want to have your phone number in, especially during storm season. So I'm glad you're able to give out your contact info. Is that your cell number that you're giving out?
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. Straight to Brett, man. That's awesome. You don't want to go through the middleman. call the main company, listen to a guard gate person, and be like, how do I get to Brett? But like, we're having a staring contest right now, and so I think it's important to know that you're going to get Brett whenever you call or text him and say, hey, I have a roof. How many pictures of messed up roofs do you get on your phone?
Oh my gosh, I'm somewhere probably around 13,000 photos right now.
Yeah. Is that for real, Maureen? Is that everything what exists in his phone? pretty much all damaged roofs. What is this? You zoom in, it's like, okay, it looks like there's a pinhole leak from somebody nailing too hard through through whatever, so I imagine that happens for you all the time.
Or
but
we get the 223 rounds in the roof.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. In my 9 years of doing this, I've been on 6 roofs that have had bullets in them.
No kidding. Is that the celebratory ones? Like after
I was
like
saying,
party?
going out or coming in?
Well, one was the lady was shocked because I was like, so are y'all gun fans and this and that? No, absolutely not. Guns, I don't believe in this and that. I'm like, okay, well, the 2-story window that has the slope right here, it's angled this direction. So
the slug's in it.
And its slug was right there.
I'm thinking just a hole. Oh my goodness.
And no, it was definitely right there. And she's like, what, where? And I explained on the slope. And I showed her the picture with the window in the picture. And she's like, my son was here for 3 weeks. What the? Slams the door, opens up. I'm very sorry. I'm going to go kill him. And slammed the door and walked away.
That's awesome. Oh my goodness. Well, we've interviewed homeowners who are like, I don't know where that came from, and then find out that they had a party later on. They're like, oh yeah, now I remember. We're in the backyard. We had a party. We killed a pig. We did all this stuff, and they're like, up in the air, and I'm like, shooting that, it's
dangerous. That is. I mean,
what goes up comes down.
Yeah. I remember as a kid, they used to give us lawn darts. Remember as a kid, they were like those giant darts with the giant steel tips, and you'd throw them.
Right. Yeah.
Let's might as well do that. We're just shooting bullets in you.
Yep.
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, and that is, quote unquote, should be covered under your policy of insurance, maybe under vandalism, but anyways, it should be covered. Yeah. But we've had some weird incidents of people on a golf course too call us out, and they're in. They've had maybe a weekend of a tournament or something like that, and they live on a specific bend, and their house just got totally beat up by golf balls. I'm telling you what, that we've written so many of those as an engineering firm to be able to then put, of course, it's just like, okay, taking all the information that we can and be like, okay, yeah, this weekend there was a big tournament. Prior to that, his whole back screen porch and whole side of his house was not dented up, and now it is.
Yep.
I mean, that's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
What is it? Have you been on any weird claims like that? I mean, that was probably one of my weirdest ones besides the vandalism, shoot in the air thing.
I've had one golf course claim, and they actually filed it under hail. And after I was there, I followed up with them. I said, okay, so this is where we're at. And they're like, well, we have an adjuster coming out on X date, and will you please be out here to represent? And this and that. And I said, no. I said, I know, my professionalism says this is what it was, and it was not hail. I don't see any hail reports in the past 2 years, and therefore I will not be there for that. You filed a claim on your own. I have nothing to do with that. And never heard from him again. Because
good luck.
It was not hail.
Right. Oh my goodness.
State the facts.
Right. That's it. And that will get you your claim paid if you're honest with it. You give all the information, and it all adds up. To Brett's point, there are ways to bring up weather reports for that specific area to see, has there been hail? Has there been enough wind that could have done damage to the roof or exterior and then cause those interior damages? So
I can tell you this too. The place people get into the most trouble with is personal property, because all of a sudden everyone's got an 80-inch television that they threw away after it got damaged by water, and they can't find a receipt. I mean, really, do you see a lot of people? I think some negligently, but I think some intentionally. Because under the case law and all the other law, fraud in part is fraud in whole. So you can have a valid roof claim, a valid interior claim, and you make up some TV from your kid's third bedroom, and the whole thing will disappear. They will deny the entire claim, have the right to do so. So if you see anything personal property as an opportunity to upgrade, that's really not the time to do it. I mean, we don't want people to do that anyway. But where we really see it is people don't make up roofs, people don't make up interior, people don't put holes in their own water lines typically or anything weird like that. But people will all of a sudden have a collection of something, or a bunch of things that somehow were all disappeared.
I had a bag of money. I just put it underneath my mattress.
And it got wet, so I threw it away. Yeah. But one other thing too, you see, just as an aside, is collections. Just as an aside on personal property, if you have 10 of something, you may have 10 of something. If you have 10 of them and keep them in the same cabinet, it's a collection. And collections are under all HO3 policies limited to some dollar value, $1,000, $2,000, $2,500, whatever it may be. So if you do have a collection of something, you may need to get it scheduled separately to have it be covered. It applies to firearms. There's always limits on firearms, on dollar amounts for firearms, silver, cutlery, things like that. But collections, a lot of people have hobbies. They collect things like guns, or collect things like plates or thimbles or whatever they want to collect. And individually, they may not have a ton of value, but as a collection, they may simply be limited by policy limits. So just something to keep in mind. If you collect things, just keep in mind that you might want to get a separate rider for them if they have some inherent value.
What about like coins and dollar bill collections?
Coins also are limited, are severely limited because they're so easy to disappear, whether it be theft or in some other means. So usually, currency is usually about $1,000.
Okay.
Which for some people is a lot of money. For some people, a lot of people may keep more than that in their house just because, and that will. And if there's a theft, you're not getting your cash back.
Right. And I think, and we usually say this every year, it's important to bring up the fact that if you haven't done it in a while, is to go through your house, record, run a video through, take pictures of everything, as much as you can on that consistent basis. Not, I would say whenever there's a big purchase, you would definitely want to catalog that and go back through and do that, just so you know you're not just shooting in the dark and forgetting silverware or other items.
And always do your closet. People tend to like breeze by it, but we all spend a lot more money than we think we do on clothes and shoes and things, and they just simply add up. If you have 10 of something and someone asks you how many X do you have, and you really go, well, I have 10, you go, oh, I don't know, I had a couple, I guess. So make sure you open up the closet, take a good long shot, take your time. The wife's shoe collection, which you don't think about much, but all of a sudden she got 20 pairs of shoes, and all of a sudden they're all gone. Well, it costs a lot of money to replace 20 pairs of shoes. I don't care what kind of shoes they are.
That's right.
So just be cautious of all that when you're just taking that video.
That's right. And it's a good point. I mean, our HO3 policies here in the state of Florida, they do cover basic, it's what they call your full coverage policy. So your residential HO3 policies are going to be the ones that you have, they call that non-negotiable type of policies. Those are your State Farm policies, your Allstate policies, to give you your quote-unquote full coverage for that. And to your point, there's a limit on certain contents and such. And so that story keeps coming up to me as well about your additional, like your coverage B, or for your additional buildings and such. If you end up buying a big lawnmower, or you have something expensive in your other structure to make sure that you're properly insured. That story with the plane falling out of the sky, Hans, has got me crazy because they were underinsured. A plane literally fell out of the sky and hit this guy or gal's she shed, and everything in it got destroyed, and they were limited on other structures to what, like $9,000 or something?
Because typically under a HO3 policy, coverage A is the value of your dwelling. Coverage B is a percentage of coverage A. It always is. Maybe 10%, 20%, depends what you buy. So they had a home, let's say, that was worth $500,000. Coverage B was only 10% of coverage A. So they had $50,000 coverage, and they had a huge shed, and literally a plane crashed into it. And they called me and they said, what do we do? And I said, what was your limits on coverage B? And it was like 20,000. This case was like $20,000. And literally a plane fell on it. And I'm like, that's all the limit. And they paid limit. They said, here's your limits check.
Right.
Like without they weren't batting an eye, man, paying the limits check. But honest to God, it was down in Fort Lauderdale. A plane fell into a guy's building.
I have a pool enclosure with Hurricane Milton, and 2 trees came down and destroyed the roof. They denied the roof. Got that approved. We just put that on last week. But the pool enclosure had a $10,000 limit. The deductible is $8,000. The cheapest quote they've got from 3 different aluminum, vendors was $16,000.
Right.
And it's like, okay, they also didn't have law and ordinance.
How do you not have law and ordinance?
Their broker was, and she showed me the email.
Yeah.
I want to save you a few dollars a month.
Oh my
And
gosh.
took it out of their policy 2 years ago.
Oh
Yeah.
my
To
god.
save them a couple dollars a month. I think it was like $1.92 for
Wasn't even worth it.
yeah. So now she's out of pocket for the second layer of synthetic and the re-nail of the decking because her roof was from 2001.
Right. Has to be brought up to code.
Yeah.
Wow, and there's no code upgrade, and so that's why it's important to ensure. I mean, I say this all the time. The state of Florida gives you two things with an HO3 policy, and that's used to be, and it still is today, ordinance and law and RCV coverage. And ordinance and law, now they had a minor law change with that a few years back, said that they could, as long as the homeowner took a discount and signed off a rider, that they could exclude ordinance and law. And to your point, why would they do that to save $1.92?
Yeah.
I mean, literally, that's ridiculous. And so what that costed them was a code upgrade of what they should have today. And that's what RCV payment is. But so much good information from you today, Brett. And before we go into storm season, and like we say, document.
Yes.
Take a photo, take photos and a video of everything on your inside of the house. Go around the outside of your house, take photos from the ground. Call Brett if you need a full roofing inspection. How do we get a hold of you, my brother?
407-928-2525. That's my cell. You can call or text. And then my email is roofsceneservices@gmail.com.
Awesome. All right. So again, right before storm season, make sure you're prepared. Hans, any last words as we depart here today?
No. Just if you got any problems, give me a call, 888-878-HANS. That's 4276.
Love that. All right. Have your professionals ready before storm season, and always check back in with us at the Restoration Association of Florida. Talk to you guys next week. See you.